Hey guys, Tom Barton from TomBartonSports.com here. Well, COVID is running rampant in the NFL, and we don't want to talk about it, but we're going to have to talk about it today. If you like the video, please comment below, subscribe, and go check me out at Tom Barton Sports over on Twitter and TomBartonSports.com. Well, guys, look, the ugly truth is that COVID is here in some form, and this isn't a political thing. It's just kind of here. You want to say that Omicron, by the way, I've been calling it Omnicron. No, it's Omicron. If you want to say it's like a common cold, sure, that's what a lot of people are. Really, the experts are saying, look, there is a less than 1% hospitality rate. It is one of these things that, you really don't have to worry about. But the NFL, well, the NFL kind of is worried because they had to move games. And here's what I want to get into today. Look, the NFL has done what the NFL always does with big, giant, controversial topics. They bungled it. They screwed it up. They did what the NFL seemingly always does. They've done it with drinking and driving and abuse and drug abuse cases. They've done it with battered women cases. They've done it with standing for the flag, kneeling for the flag. They've done it with the inner city work. They've done it in a million different situations. The NFL gets involved and they make matters worse. So I understand the players that are coming out and they're angry. And they are angry. A lot of the Raiders were angry. They wound up getting the win, but a lot of the Raiders were angry. A lot of people were outwardly upset about this because the NFL came out and they said, you guys, that the NFL players that are at the least risk of major problems in the entire spectrum of the world, in shape 20-something-year-old athletes, you guys must get this vaccine or you're done. You have to get it because we are not switching games no matter what. That's what the NFL said. And they forced these guys to take that vaccine. DeAndre Hopkins was somebody that said, look, I don't want to take this vaccine. I know that the vaccine could cause harm. I don't want to risk that. I'm okay with getting COVID and kind of dealing with it. Cole Beasley was another one. Carson Wentz, went out there. Kirk Cousins said, I'm doing my own research. And they got blasted, absolutely blasted. And you look into the other sports, Kyrie Irving is one. But only the NFL said, we are not moving games. That's it. They were really, really, really dug their heels in the turf there and said, we're not moving on this. Well, until it came time to move on it. And this is what the NFL did. Now the NFL moved games, they adjusted their schedule, and now they're switching the entire protocol on how they are testing players. They have already put that divide between unvaccinated players and vaccinated players, trying to blame unvaccinated players where we all know it's ridiculous. The CDC is saying that 80% of all new cases are coming from vaccinated people, not players, but vaccinated people around the country. The unvaxxed have nothing to do with it. Forget about mush for brains and whatever he's going to say to the nation. We know that it doesn't stop the spread. It lessens the symptoms, sure. And if you're as somebody that's over the age of 55, out of shape, have health conditions, get the vaccine. By all means, because it's going to lower the symptoms. I'm somebody that had COVID. It wasn't fun. And could I have lowered those symptoms? Yeah, I probably could have lowered those symptoms. My mother, though, who is 70 years old, said, do you think I should get the vaccine? Yes, get the vaccine. You're 70 years old. So not every case is the same. But with the NFL players, you forced them to take this. Now you're switching your policy. You're moving games. A team like Green Bay had to deal with this without Aaron Rodgers. You're moving games after you told them you would not do so. A lot of these guys felt forced in taking a vaccine because, well, you know what? Do it for your teammates. You heard talking heads, guys on the air. I know Shannon Sharp is one of the most outward people about this vaccine going, if you care about your team, you're going to get it. Why? It doesn't prevent anything as far as the spread goes. We know that now. This is what we know. But the thing is that the NFL, depending on what side you're on, it doesn't really matter politically. What the NFL is doing is just inconsistent. And that's what we ask for for the NFL. When you're throwing down suspensions, be consistent. Have a guideline. Have a book that we know that's going to be, this is the way it goes. I'm going to get suspended for this. I'm going to get fined for that. The NFL isn't doing that here. The NFL is now saying they're going to pull testing back. If you're asymptomatic, what are you going to do? Well, you're not going to get tested if you already had the vaccine. But I ask you, we often look at NFL players as the $25 million a year type of guys, the otherworldly, the Bradys, the Mahomes, the top of the line type of paid athletes. But you have that 53-man roster, right? And that 53rd guy on the roster that is, on the punt return team, for example. You think he's going to say if he doesn't feel a little under the weather? Do you think that he's going to let anybody know? Well, you know what? I'm vaccinated, but I'm a little under the weather, so I should go get that test. Absolutely not. So the NFL is trying to do both things. They're trying to say, we're very worried about COVID. Then they'll let 75,000 people into the stands. But we're very worried about COVID, but we're pulling testing back. Again, I don't care where you stand on the vaccine situation here. If you think everyone should be forced, if you don't believe it. But this is an NFL problem. It's the NFL problem because they're trying to play both sides of the fence. It's an NFL problem because they're telling us, in one respect, we are very, very concerned about having to move games again. We're very concerned about the running rampant that we're going to have of this new COVID strain. We're very concerned, so we're going to pull testing back. What? That doesn't make any sense. So, again, the NFL had an opportunity to make a statement. The NFL had an opportunity to lead by example. You're the most profitable league out there. Lead by example. Make that statement. Be out in front of this thing. And instead, they want to play both sides. Instead, they have players going to social media and blasting them. You have fans going to social media and blasting them. Media journalists blasting them from both sides. This isn't one side. You have people that are blasting their new policy. You have people that are blasting what they're doing, moving games. They're trying to appease everyone. Well, here's the problem, NFL. You have to just stick with the rules. If the NFL just didn't move games and the NFL just didn't adjust schedules, well, the players wouldn't be upset. You told us that. You've stuck by your guns. Whether you're right or wrong, you've stuck by your guns. But the NFL has gotten themselves back into a position which we often see. We've often seen this with the NFL. Back yourself into a position where you're trying to play both sides of the fence. NFL and the NFL Players Association is going to have major, major problems. They're going to have big-time issues. They're already causing a divide among the players. Now, all of a sudden, you're going against your word. The NFL, you had to handle this better. You had to, and you just didn't. But I'm not surprised, because the NFL often doesn't handle things like this in the best of manners. All right, guys, if you like, I'm sure you're going to have a couple of comments as well. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel right down below. Also, go check me out at Tom Barton Sports over on Twitter and TomBartonSports.com. Have a very good day, everybody.